about that.
Yeah! Stevie, ask us a question.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you can come in.
What the fuck are you doing?
It's gone now. Stage fright.
How do you feel about the headliners?
Right.
Well, I thought we were the headline.
What do you mean?
How do you spot the No Good Sons? It's by the cowboy hats.
Right, okay, we'll do this.
Okay.
Okay, we're here tonight with the Black Bullets. So, hi guys. Right, they're co-headlining in Reading with Stevie Pearce and the Hooligans. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, right.
And apparently we're talking about the meaning of life.
Indeed.
So, over to you guys.
42. Done.
42. Right.
Next one.
Well, thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, bye!
No,
They answered because I wasn't qualified to answer that one.
I mean, on all seriousness, you guys obviously know Stevie. Everybody knows each other, it seems to be.
We do. I actually replaced him in the Black Bullets.
Yeah, because he was one of the co-founders originally, I believe. Yeah. So, you guys have been together how long now? As you are now, as this current
Just
format?
over a year. Yeah, just over a year when Alice joined.
Because I do know, I've heard some really good things about you guys, how dynamic stage performance, and I think we were talking earlier about how you jump about with the bass, and
Yeah,
you're not the only one.
I can't play. So.
But is that just something that's in the music you play, or is that just like a personal thing with all you guys? You just enjoy playing and just want to just...
It's got to be, it's part of the music that we do, isn't it? It's got to be exciting.
You can't stand still to that.
It's got to be a show as well, like partly for our benefit and also mainly for the show, the visual of it. So
I think...
I understand it.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than watching a band who doesn't look like they want to be on stage.
Yeah, they don't want to be there. How can you be into it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of bands I talk to are of a similar ilk, where even if there's only 2 people in the room, they'll play like they're in front of 10,000 because you have to give it 100%, or you don't sell yourselves. It's not real.
Yeah, it's infectious.
People can feel it. There's there. You can feel. That's the whole thing with music, isn't it?
And I guess also when you get a crowd like you're going to get tonight, you're going to get the feedback from the crowd. The energy is kind of a to and fro thing for a band and the audience, and it kind of work off each other.
Indeed, definitely. We need that as much as they like to see us.
And also the audience can tell if a band's faking it, if they're enjoying playing.
That's it.
You can't do it.
Can't keep the
You can't lie.
Yeah.
You can't lie if you're on stage. People can see it straight away.
So this current tour you guys on, are you doing like the full tour with Stevie Pearce and that? Is it, or is it just
It's just tonight.
just
Yeah,
tonight?
Just tonight, yeah.
So what are you doing after this? Are you festivals this year, or?
Eastbourne tomorrow, and then I think there's pretty much something every weekend.
Yeah, we're pretty much up until
There's a
summer.
lot of stuff going on.
Because you're local to this area, aren't you? Basingstoke and Newbury, I believe. So do you do a lot on the south coast side of it, or do you sort of venture more up north? And
Yeah, not so much here. There's not really that much going on in this town. Like, and Basingstoke, where some of us are from, that's kind of gone the same way. Newbury's pretty much the same where we're from as well. So we tend to do Oxford if it's local.
The only way
Oxford's
to
better.
get your mates to turn up to play, come and see us, is to actually invite them to be the first band on.
or fly them with cloven hoof, although other runs are available.
Cloven Hook.
No, we're saying that for fans.
Cloven Hook.
Yes, yeah.
What's it called again?
I am.
Like we just said, other runs are available for consumption, but
This
obviously
one is the best.
weapon of choice. So after this thing, you guys, if you've got festivals planned this year at all, are you playing any of the festivals?
We've got a couple, yeah. The biggest one I think we're doing is the HRH Sleaze in.
Wow.
Hey,
I'm
baby.
afraid.
Lost some weight.
Look like fucking Axl Rose, you fat cunt.
Yeah, your eyes weren't deceiving you. That was Stevie Pearce walking past, part naked.
Flustered.
Beautiful specimen of a man.
We've got what's the festival named after our own bass player?
Yeah.
Not really, but it's just a lucky
Alice,
coincidence.
Yeah.
This is Wicked Weekend, isn't it?
No, the tea party.
Alice is looking, no, yeah, that's the weekend.
Yes, after.
Yeah.
Yes, remember, elbows down and pinkies up.
So where's that to? Is that local?
Where is that?
That's Dorset, I think.
know
Yeah,
what
down
that
in
is.
Dorset.
Oh, okay.
We're fairly high up the bill, aren't we? I think on the second day.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot more. I mean, obviously I know Alec, who puts a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff on, and I know he's worked with you guys quite a bit.
Yeah, he put us on with Bullets and Octane, a couple of shows.
Yeah.
The other week. That was
That was
amazing.
pretty cool.
That was really amazing.
Yeah, Skinny Pete got on stage with them.
It was amazing.
I think it's
Fanboy.
I know I don't like to use the word genre of music, but it's a style of music that Alex seems very good at putting together
Yeah.
different bands of the same
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of,
It's pretty
or
on top.
similar sort of style, but different, totally different musically, but similar style, and it seems to
Captures the
work.
attitude.
I think that's how we actually met him. I've met him at several gigs, like going to see different bands, and kept running into him. He kept saying one day, and then here we are.
So you kept running into him, you kept getting up again, so you kept doing it.
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
One
yeah,
day,
yeah, yeah.
with the parking tonight, that doesn't surprise me. But no, it's awesome because I did an interview the other day with someone, and they were saying that kids nowadays don't really necessarily want rock and roll music because it talks about
Idiots.
talks about depression. It's basically people moaning all the time. But basically, that's it. That's music. But go for it. You know, there's nothing better in my eyes than rock and roll music when it's played live. You've got to put your heart into it. You've got to put your soul into it. You've got to jump about. You know, like you said, you've got to sell
You
yourself.
try- well,
but it's real, raw, live music that a lot of kids that I've noticed, interviewing a lot of younger bands as well, there's an age group now from, I don't know, early teens right the way up to 50s and 60s going to the same gigs. So in my eyes, it's strong.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna
People
get
need
stronger.
entertaining again because bands got, like we said earlier, bands got boring. Like,
I think they're doing another kind of like grunge thing. You know, they're kind of like anti-grunge now, so they're all trying to be even more boring and more
Yeah.
more unoriginal and more unexciting.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to bland out everything.
I'm going to do a Kurt Cobain but with a super soaker instead.
You know, the fact that they put Mumford and Sons under the genre of rock in the first place, you know, fuck
What?
right.
Yeah, right.
Something went
Fiddly
wrong.
diddly bastards.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck's going on?
I mean, I was, well, probably a lot older than most of you, but I was brought up in the punk days of the late 70s, and used to go to see bands like the Vapors, 999, Shams, when they were, Sex Pistols, when they were good, when they were still young and original. And I think the scene now is kind of similar to how that started, but with not so much anarchy, if you like.
It's a little bit safer, yeah.
It's kind of
Somebody
come
said the same
around.
thing to us last week. We was at the Hope and Anchor, and he'd been there like 40 years ago.
Famous
And he was
place.
saying- Yeah, it was like he used to watch the Sex Pistols and Damn Den, and he was digging it though. Like he was saying, it's kind of coming back the same but different
It is.
now, you know.
But more user friendly, I think.
So nowadays in hotel rooms you just leave the TV on all night to be rebellious rather than chucking it out the window.
Yeah. Leave the tap running.
Yeah.
Down, Sean.
He's put the radiator on 5.
Yeah.
So it costs too much nowadays.
Yeah.
We're also talking about
Yeah.
touring in. Go back to the old days. It was all paid for. Everybody was, your record company or promoter would pay for everything. You just go on the road, do your thing.
I do was
Yeah.
born in the wrong era.
But nowadays, obviously, I would guess, with like most bands, it's merch sales that do most of the sort of money for you guys. But obviously,
that's
you
the
get
only way to make money nowadays.
That's
You don't
half the
want
battle,
to,
like.
and you don't want to find yourself trashing a hotel room when you know you've got to foot the bill.
exactly, yeah. Someone else is doing it. You don't mind, like you say.
Yeah, if you can blame it on another band, that's alright.
Yeah.
It was them, I saw them.
But I do think it's British music in itself is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. People might not see it who just looking from the outside, but sort of being in it and seeing it firsthand, I'm so happy with what's going to happen in the future.
It's going well
Yeah.
at the moment. It looks
Definitely.
quite optimistic, I'd say.
And there's also more and more festivals.
That's very optimistic, I say.
Yeah.
Rather
Yes,
miserable to
that was for all our upper class listeners and watchers. That was very, but I think there's more and more things being put on for bands like you guys and that are more acceptable to like the general public, and they'll come and see you, and you'll be able to put your name out. People will talk about you. It's just a word of mouth is, I think, still the best way. I know we've got YouTube and shit like that now, where I think most bands, if they're not on YouTube, nobody knows them.
No, but you still do need some help to push it out there further with the social media stuff. You can only go so far on your own.
There's also a lot of bands that when they release a single, release an album, somebody will listen to it and I think, yeah, they're okay a little bit. But it's live is when you actually experience how good a band is and how good a connection the band has got with each other. Because I think that's really...
Personalities show a lot, because it's like, you can take yourself too serious as well. And that's Stevie.
I think he's just slipped over his skirt. Or whatever he was wearing. But yeah, no, I think you have to, like we were saying earlier about selling it on stage. You can't fake it.
No,
Yeah.
and like kids can see it. Like if you're like properly like arrogant bastards, it doesn't matter how good you are. No one's going to care. You've got to be able to like take piss at yourself as well, and like.
Well, we had a little episode with the band last weekend in London. Didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Won't mention their name, but
No names mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, crack on. No, to be fair,
I can't remember their name. That's what
it's not that's why it was in the hot water in the first place.
no, I think there's of all the bands I've talked to or met over the years, there's.
We're the most stupid? Oh no, okay.
Do you know what? I was actually going to say you're the only ones that have had Stevie Pearson's got do like a video bomb, so that's the first.
We got scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait to see what I'm going to do when I interview him.
We'll have to censor that as he walks past. But no, I would say 95% of the bands, the band members are cool. There's a few that are up their own arses, and you probably meet.
Some of them.
But the majority of bands are just cool people.
Yeah, and then we get on. Like,
Yeah, you get on. Everybody argues. It's like family shit. You know, one day you're arguing, the next day but as soon as you go on stage, you've got that connection as a band.
Yeah.
So with writing for you guys, who does the writing? Is it like a group thing? Is it just a?
They make all the music, I make all the words.
It normally happens with setting up for a band practice. Is normally Skinny will just start playing something and I say, what's that? And he'll go, fuck knows. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And then like, oh Carl, what do you reckon that? Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, all right. And then we work on it, and within a couple of hours we normally come up with something. You know, sometimes it's like 10 minutes and you've got like half the song, you know.
I like that sort of Joan Jett, sort of real simple, like backbone sort of writing.
Yep.
So I come up with something like usually quite simple but just effective, and then they work some magic on it and make it sound way better. And by the end of it, it's all in like a big.
By the end, it doesn't sound anything like you put down.
It's like,
I've actually don't play any.
That's where the magic is.
but basically, you give birth to the song and they do the plastic surgery.
I take it to school.
We bought his fucking shit and then move on.
Then it's up for adoption the next week.
In a box, free for good home.
Because I mean,
poor little song.
there's a lot of bands that just don't bother with. They let like one person do it or two people do it. But like you say,
It depends.
as a group, it seems to work better. I think.
Sometimes like one of our recent ones that we've just recorded actually. What's the full title? When the Devil Comes Knocking. Yeah. It was a riff. I did the riff at home. Sort of started the riff and thought, oh, this sounds pretty good. Worked on it a little bit and then kind of forgot about it. Next practice, I said to Carl, I was like, I've got this riff. I'm not sure about it because. Started to think in my own mind it sounded a little bit funny, and he was just like, no, that's wicked, that's wicked. Yeah, we went from there. We wrote the rest of the song like 10 minutes like after that.
I mean, that's the thing. Everybody brings an individual part to a song, and the collective at the end of it, you come out with this tune which you're proud and happy with.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you release an album or an EP or whatever, you've got to be happy with what's on an EP because it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
Even
Well,
down
we don't
to,
have to listen
even
to
down
it.
to
but somebody will.
even down to like
That's the
arrangement,
problem.
like how things flow. Do you know what I mean? It'll come, everything needs like the right go ahead afterwards. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that sounds right before that, but that don't sound right after that song.
Well, a lot of bands are setting albums up now, like a set list, like they would do on a gig. You know, the way it would flow, the
So
way.
it feels natural.
Yeah,
it takes on
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And there's a lot of new albums that seem to be being set out like that, which I think is fantastic.
Well, that's how the classic albums in the 70s and the 80s were. They, you know, like you start it off with excitement, you know, you carry it on for a couple of tracks, dip a little
Bring
bit,
it down
bring it
for
back
people who
up,
have to go and get
bring
drunk.
it back down. It's supposed to be like a roller coaster, isn't it? With
Yeah.
like a rock and roll album.
And I think that's a great way of doing it. Yeah? Like you say, keeps it real. And then when people do go to the show, if they haven't seen you at a show first,
There's something for everyone. It's a bit like.
they say, oh, wow, this is just like the album.
Yeah.
But better because it's live. And they get that feel, you know, and obviously get to meet you guys, sign shit and whatever. And that's the thing, it's that interaction between fan base and band as well, which is really, really big, I think. It sort of helped. I mean, we talk about social media being massive for bands to get known, but meeting your fans and
It's
getting that.
fantastic to meet the people
Yeah,
that come
yeah,
to see us. I love it.
We've got friends that got it tattooed, man. You know what I mean? That's like.
There's nothing
You're
better.
on honour as a band, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's
Yeah,
not-
I love to talk to them.
There's nothing better than someone, even like a random, like last week, random stranger in London, like two guys, come up to me and he said, the headlining band, he said, I love them, I've got both their albums. He said, but First
You
time
blew
I've
me
ever
away.
seen you, he said you blew them off the stage. He said like, and because of what they'd said and didn't like really, you know,
You were like,
appease
oh,
himself.
really, sir, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, it's just like that's, you know, you got to be humble about it. That's cool, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, that must be the ultimate accolade when somebody who's gone to see another band comes up to you and says, "Fucking hell, you guys were fantastic."
Definitely.
Like
Yeah.
I say, getting a tattoo
Yeah,
of
see
your
a
band
beautiful
name
lass,
is
that's
just.
Yeah.
It must be strange, I suppose, if you see someone walking down the street and they've got your name tattooed, the band name tattooed on their arm, or, you know, it's
It's like, shit, we're doing this seriously now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. First of all, you have to believe in what you do yourself, like you said, and like what you're doing.
And we better not split up next week.
Yeah, that's to get it reaffirmed, like to actually realise that other people are getting like getting it and enjoying it. That's
You know what's so funny is when I first met you guys, like with my old band, you guys scared the crap out of me. So I was just like, oh my god, these guys are so cool.
We don't anymore.
No. Then
Now she knows we're a bunch of idiots.
Then I got talking to you and found out you're actually okay people. But yeah, initially, I was,
Okay, people.
yeah, you're okay, you're all right.
Many a time
Could be
I've
worse.
found her going like this behind our heads.
Yeah.
no, I mean that's cool, guys. So, what's up for you for the rest of the summer then? I know you said you've got a couple of festivals lined up. Are you touring? Are you got any headline tours or your support slots coming up soon?
We call every fucking gig
We
like
play
tour.
it.
It's
Because
just
it's
one.
non-stop.
Because it's almost
It's just a year-long
yeah.
weekend.
Well,
We've been playing the same tour for the last 2 years.
Possibly going back to, hopefully going back to Spain again in
Yeah,
September
hopefully, yeah.
time. Like if we can, as long as we can like sort it out.
As long as the
properly.
weather's alright. It was a bit cold last time.
It was, but
It snowed.
You just can't get the
It,
stuff.
it didn't matter. That was like so cool. Like you've never
Literally.
experienced a reception like going into a tiny little village in Spain. You drive in and you think they are going to hate us. There's nobody about. So quiet. Then you start seeing your posters about. Later on, you play the gig. You start at like 11 o'clock at night. You're thinking no one's going to
You're
turn up.
talking
The
like
whole
quite religious
town
looking
comes out to
little
see you.
towns.
They wanted CDs, signed photos with us. It was insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Because I think Eastern Europe is another place which is very, very similar. They love rock music. They love live bands. And if
They're
you
not as uptight as the British. That's what it comes down to. Like everyone
also-
in England's a snob.
But because they don't get to see live music from you guys and stuff very often,
So they don't know how to act when it does happen. It's
yeah.
like-
When bands do make the effort to go over to these places, they appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, I really believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a few American bands, and when they come over for the first time with a British audience, they'll sort of be quiet during the song, and then explode when the song finishes. You know, applauding.
Yeah.
And they couldn't work it out. They thought because it was quiet during the song, because people were listening, whereas in the States they're more interested in pissing it up the wall, and the music's secondary. Whereas over here, the music's first most of the time. And then,
That annoys me because like all I want to do is get pissed and have music as a background.
and they're ignoring you. Yeah.
It must be why then all the when American bands come over and they're obviously not lying when they say the English crowds are like they dig it loads more than when they're playing in America.
Well, one of the bands decided because they really thought that the English audience didn't like or didn't know their music, so they weren't sort of responding the way they were used to in the States. They even played a cover of Seven Nation Army because they thought everyone would know it.
Yeah.
And to see this country rock band doing Seven Nation Army was surreal, but it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But it took them sort of weeks to get used to it. So I think the British audience is fantastic.
I do. I think we like a sing song over here, don't we?
Yeah.
A beer and a sing song,
Exactly.
or a rum and a sing song.
Cloven hoof.
Cloven hoof, but we did say other rums are available for
First, and
consumption.
They'll do anything.
Yeah. Remember, the more they drink, the better we sound.
Oh, and apparently jumping around on stage with the bass is because it makes you sound better.
Huh? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Jumping about with the bass on stage is the reason is to make you sound better. Is because
Make you sound better.
Yes.
is it or is it to hide the sound? What's the reason for it? To distract from the playing? Is it?
Yes,
The
entirely.
audience.
Yeah.
We'll be the judge of that tonight, no doubt. All right,
Depends
guys.
how well she's done her makeup. So
Yeah.
she jumps about.
But as you just exhibited there, I space out a lot, so it's more of lots of mistakes, and so hiding them with jumping.
No, it's really cool.
Flashy
And
shoes.
falling
Yes.
over. Don't forget the falling over.
Oh yeah.
Well, tell you what, we're going to look forward to this show tonight. It should be an absolute corker.
Cool.
Shitty weather outside. No better place to be than be inside listening to live music. So, guys,
Baseball.
Yeah.
thanks, guys, for talking to us at
Cheers,
2 Figure
man.
Evening today, and
Cheers.
good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Cloven Hoof.